They say silence is golden, but we choose noise. Join us as we sit down with singer, songwriter, producer Blake Lewis. Listen up as Blake takes us beat by beat through his creative journey from beatbox beginnings, American Idol, to solo success, and struggles through the high notes, the low notes, and what lies underneath a career in the music industry.
Boxers or briefs?
None.
Tune in as Blake reveals all.
It was commando for a decade. Hello, everyone. I'm Blake Lewis, and I'm coming up on Uncensored Radio. Check it out.
Hello out there in UCR land. Welcome back to a very special Uncensored Radio presentation. Today we're feeling very musical. We're feeling super musical. In fact, I have the beautiful Katrina A Johnson with me, and the always lovely Luke here to chat. But the one thing about us Uncensored Radio is we never do things quietly. They say silence is golden, but we choose noise. And today, so does our very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have singer, songwriter, producer, beatboxer, American Idol alumni, all-round Renaissance man, and everything. Blake Lewis, how are you, Blake?
Hello.
Hello.
Nice tagline from my first album. You threw
I know, my friend. I know. Pick the fan. Let's talk about it. How are you? Where are you? What's going on?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I am in Las Vegas, Nevada, in my home studio currently.
Sin City. We love it. we love some Vegas. Katrina's got some Vegas stories for sure.
Vegas, baby.
I keep
Vegas
up there.
She keeps a place there. So we are very excited to have you here because we love a bit of just a bit of creativity. And you, my friend, you've been a busy boy for a long time. Do you feel like you've been a busy boy for a long time already?
Oh, yes. I definitely feel like I've been a busy boy for quite some time. Been at, making noise and music my whole life. So,
Exactly. So for the people at home who, because we are international, American Idol, your season did actually air here in prime time, which is rare. But a lot of people don't understand that you were all about music before Idol. You were one of these ones that wasn't like, plucked from obscurity. You were working hard already. So can you just explain a little bit about that for the people that might not know?
Okay. Well, I grew up in Washington, a little north of Seattle, in a place called Bothell and Kenmore. And my mom was like a blues, rock, bluegrass artist. She had a band called Dynamite. She grew up rocking mics since she was young on the radio and had Battle of the Bands and whatnot. And so I get all my musical sensibility from her side of my family. And I grew up watching her. I'm an only child, and I was raised in this a town called Linwood, Washington. And on my street, there was nobody but me as far as kids. So I had to kind of make my own entertainment happen all the time. And I'm, just like every little boy does back then, was playing with Transformers and He-Man and, Ninja Turtles and all those fun things, just like, making all the noise. So I was a noisemaker at an early age. And then I started singing around 5, just kind of seeing my mom do it. So I was, inclined. And when we moved, when I think I was 9 or 8, we moved to a different location where there was families everywhere, and me to actually make friends. I didn't really have any friends until I was like 10. So it was a little lonely childhood, to be honest. And then, music just took off. Everyone was taking piano lessons. I joined a youth choir. We toured when I was 13 to Europe. That just kind of opened my eyes to everything. High school came. I found beatboxing through a cappella music and hip hop. I was super into electronic music out of high school. I started raving. I started performing at hip hop shows in a group called Unexpected Arrival. We had a #1 on Seattle radio regionally with Twista, with a song that I wrote, the hook I wrote anyway, at 19. And from there, I joined an a cappella group called Kickshaw, and we were booked every single day for like 4 months straight. I was like 6 months out of high school. I was a professional musician doing that, hip hop, raves on the weekend, a cappella during the days, up and down the West Coast, singing at every fair, every, little festival, every freaking, we do Ronald McDonald House and do a lot of charity work. We sing everywhere. And so that really kind of got my focus, just was like music nonstop. I didn't do anything. I probably had, I had multiple gigs every week. Like some day would be like 8 to 10 shows a week.
Wow.
And I did that for 4 years. I'm a hustler and I grind, and when you're inspired, especially back then, it didn't make a lot of money, but it afforded me to build my own little studio and start working and trying to figure out production, because I love producing a lot. I love producing anything, taking someone's vision to a new life. So that's about it.
Do you think going into Idol with that work ethic, though, of knowing that music is a grind and a lot of hard work, is what kept you moving through all of that? Because like we all know, like with the Idol beast, that a lot of young people think, oh yeah, I just go on there and then I'm famous and it's done. Like, did you go in there knowing like this is going to be a lot of work?
I honestly went into it. It blindsided me because I didn't want to be on that show. It had already been going for 5 seasons. I'd never seen an episode. I was always working. I didn't watch TV for like 5 years. I didn't have a television in where I was living for a long time, just a monitor and to watch movies like on my computer. So I didn't know anything about it. My friend called me the night before auditioning. I just got off stage at this place called the Triple Door in Seattle, this beautiful like kind of jazz venue. And he's from Australia, and he's like, I might, what are you doing tomorrow morning? Good eye. What are you doing tomorrow morning? And yeah, my Australian's terrible.
It was okay, actually.
It was good.
Yeah.
All right, no wuckers.
Hey, there we go.
And he's like, hey, I'm gonna go audition for American Idol, and I was like, oh, cool, man, good on you. And he's like, I want you to come with me, and I was like, no, thanks. And he's like, come on, dude. Like, I don't want to stand in line by myself. He's like, all you got to do is register at Key Arena. And I happened to be like 10 blocks away from Key Arena on my way home from that gig. So he's like, oh, I'll pack Sammy's and we'll stand in line. I'm like, okay, cool. And I made it there, and we stood in line for like 4 hours in the torrential rainfall, and it was crazy. There was 10,000 people there, all going inside this. You sing for 30 seconds and they say yes or no, because it's the cattle call. It's like, oh yeah, there's not any pressure really. And they're like, they bring up 4 people, you sing next, and they're like, you two, you made it, bye, have a nice day. It was like that.
Yeah.
And luckily I got to go first, because for some reason that day they decided we're going to start from the last people who signed up to the beginning.
Oh,
and so he waited there for 12 more hours, and he didn't make it, and I felt bad.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's notoriously bad. I have done it 3 or 4 times myself, and you're there all day going, kill me. You got to wait for the producers rounds. You're like, okay, then come back another day. You're like, kill me. I've had enough.
Yeah. But to answer your question, like, work ethic definitely played a part, but it was so surreal. Nothing can prepare you, especially when you haven't been in that kind of limelight, that spotlight, they gave us like one day of like interview after interview after interview, and then like teaching us how to interview, which is nice. They kind of give you a little boot camp. And this is after I made it and I onto the show, the live 24 contestants. And what prepared me for that was like I was fine in front of a camera because I was shooting music videos already and doing weird characters and improv and stuff. So I didn't mind. And I'm a goof. Like I'm a cheese ball. I will goof it up, you know, for anyone at any time. And so I was like, okay, I know the power of editing. Like they can edit me to make me look a certain way. The only thing I had in my head, because I asked a million friends, no one watched it except for two of my best friends. One of my best friends, Christy, since like 5th grade, and my best friend in the whole world watched it every season with his girlfriend. And I'm like, what am I getting myself into? And they just like, they were like, it's they just are like, okay, just be you, but always smile, say thank you. And you know, oh, we got to come up with your fan base already. I was like, yo, I'm not even like on the show yet. This is like off the jump. Cause as soon as I made that cattle call, I was like, what the F? I called my old music teacher. You know, I called anyone I could think of that possibly watched the show. And it was literally 2 people. So at least I had my besties on my side. My parents are freaking out, you know, they're like, oh my God. And I wasn't freaking out at all. Like Ryan Seacrest, the producers, like in the auditionings are like, are you not excited to be here? I'm like, I mean, no, it's an audition. Like if you say no, I'm not going to give my hopes up. Like like if you want me, that's dope. Like I will perform my ass off. I'm an entertainer. Like I would love the opportunity, but I'm not going to be like, yay, until I get it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And music to me is not a competition. I hated reality TV. I thought it was the worst thing since social media. You know, I wore like, I was anti-political. I wrote songs about it. Like I was the most underground pop cat you could ever meet. You know what I mean? Like I love pop music. I love writing music, but I was doing hip hop, drum and bass, a cappella. Those are like, besides hip hop, like the other two, besides classical music, is the nichest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a small fan bases. Not so much now. I mean, obviously, electronic music is huge, but you know, almost 20 years ago, it wasn't as big. You know, so going on this show was just like, it scared me more than anything. But the one thing that kind of set me straight was live. Like I perform the best under pressure. And if it's live, like I love producing and I love making my albums. I hate singing on these mics in a studio. I don't like it when there's not people in front of me. I like to feel that kinetic energy. And that was the one thing. That stage was exhilarating. It was kind of mind-blowing. Like, do you guys know the word frisson?
No,
Frisson.
inform us.
Frisson is goosebumps. So
Okay.
I'll segue to that later. But like there's only been a few stages in my career, maybe 10, let's say a top 10, where I've gotten myself high. Like so elated where like you're in another plane, another dimension. And on Idol, that happened like 3 times from audience response. You don't know what's behind the camera. There's 17 cameras on American Idol. You see a little red dot, you know, you can play to that for like a second, you know. So when I got on that show, my work ethic was to meet every single crew person, the director, the sound guys, because there's 2 different ones. There's the sound guys for the room, and then there's the sound guys for the TV. And so I'm like, what are the sound guys in the room feeding to the TV people? Are they going to, I micromanage everything. I'm like, I want like a 400 millisecond delay on this note when I hit this note.
Wow.
And that's going to come off in the room, but is it going to go to the television audience? You know, I'm like to dance. Are you going to shoot my feet? Are you shooting me waist up, or are you shooting me full body? Because I'm going to do a spin move at this mark on this note. And they were like, who the fuck are you, dude? At first, you know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
I would be on them every week, and they're like, you are the first person on this show to ever talk to me. Like most of these people. I talked to every person in the band. I talked to Dave, the keyboardist, and I picked the patches with him of the sounds I wanted for the arrangement that I created. I was
Wow.
one of the first contestants to ever arrange his own music on that show. I would have my computer, my laptop, keyboard, guitar. I would throw the song in, whatever I was performing. Say Bon Jovi, You Give Love a Bad Name. I threw that in. I put a half tempo beat on it. I'm like, okay, this song's sexy now. Keep the chorus the same because America will like kill me if I don't keep the chorus the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was like, oh, that bass line. I'm like, what about? And I got shit for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I didn't. I kept progressing. You know what I mean? I wasn't the greatest singer. I was more of a vibe guy, especially then. You know, I'm competing against Melinda Doolittle, you know, Lakeisha Jones, Jordan Sparks, these people that have these big voices
Mhm.
and just technique. And my technique was just like, let's see what works, you know? And how can I make this arrangement special? How can it be better than all these other people's arrangements? For me, it's not a competition, but I was like, how can I make my arrangement cooler than everyone's? Because I know what my skill set is. And that plays on to your question. It's when you ask me an idol question, it's a can of worms. So I apologize.
We love a can of worms.
They're all of it.
Yeah.
We love worms. We love worms. So, obviously, your previous experience dictated your journey in Idol. I mean, as you said, when you are working professionally before you go into these shows, you have an advantage, especially back then when it was still, you know, there were still complete amateurs without, you know, a social media presence and this, that, and the other getting up there to further their brand. But do you think with that, were you surprised at how the public reacted to you? Because as you said, you weren't like really be all and end all, and then the public really responded to you.
Well, here's the thing. They kind of treated us like little kids, like in detention. Like they took away all our social media. And at that time, there was only YouTube and MySpace. So we didn't have control. We couldn't talk to our fans. They were so scared of anything getting out. TMZ was like the big new thing, and Perez Hilton. They didn't want anything getting leaked. Not the truth of the actual contestants. Oh no! Instead of these not make believe themes, but so what's the word? Just
constructed.
Manipulated,
curated, perhaps.
Curated and manipulated. Like, you know, the producers would be like, "We want you to sing this this week," when you've already picked out a song. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they would do that for the younger contestants, and they would say yes. Whereas they tried to do that for me, and I told them to fuck off and had battles with them. And then they would apologize to me and they know the results. They probably know who's going to win within those first 3 weeks of how the voting goes. You know what I mean? Behind the scenes, we don't.
Yeah.
But they know the numbers. Like they know right away, like, oh, this person got 2 million votes and this person got 300,000. Like they know that 300,000 persons, you know, if they love that person, then maybe they'll like try and clear songs for them, because you got to get songs approved by publishers and copyrights and, you know, all the behind the scenes. And back then there was 4 global sponsors, you know, it was Coca-Cola, Ford, AT&T. And then it's run by, like, back then it was like 4 different companies. It was like Fremantle, 19, Fox, and another one. So, you know, going in, I have all this, you know, in my head. I'm like, okay, my strategy, make the best arrangement, pick the best song. First of all, is like, if I could get the license for it, that's dope. Because I have like different arrangements in my mind going ahead. Because like right when we showed up, they're like, here's the weeks. Like Bon Jovi's coming this week. J-Lo's coming this week. Gwen Stefani's this week. And then towards the end, they were like, it was more like surprise kind of guess, you know, they tell you like tomorrow you're meeting this person. You're like, what? You know, like, what? So it was so surreal. I just took it in and I had the most fun, I think, out of anybody who's ever been on that show until the finale week. You know what I mean? But the whole experience was just, it was so surreal. And going on what you asked me, we didn't know like who our fan base was because we were in such this tight bubble. I had to sneak out at night. You know, I'd never really been out to LA or Hollywood, and you're newly famous and going out and drinking every night with freaking Lindsay Lohan and freaking Paris Hilton and just random, like name drop. Who cares? Like you're just the new kid, you know, in a club, and the promoter's like, "Come on, man, you know, sit here." You're just like, "Whoa." I stayed sane by just like making sure I had the right song. I made a dope arrangement that I was comfortable with. I have a really bad memory, and I feel like I'm a little dyslexic. I haven't tested, but I can't remember lyrics. And I'm on a show where I have to like learn 3 songs that I got to perform in 2 days. And I got to, even though it's like short arrangements, because everything for TV is just like, you know, you don't even see full songs. You see 2 minutes at best on these shows. So it was stressful. It was exciting. I got to meet heroes. I got to sing with heroes, people that I'm friends with today still that I can call and ask for help or just opinions and get their wisdom and knowledge in this ever growing and diminishing landscape that is the music industry. So yeah,
Busy times.
We got our social media back when the show was over. And I opened my MySpace and it was like, oh my God, 100,000 people. And then literally like 3 months later, MySpace was dead. So I couldn't get those fans over to like Facebook.
Apparently there's still relics of it around. Like you can go to your old page, but nothing works on there.
Yeah.
Remember you could have your music and that on there as well. And
yeah,
all that
man.
don't work there, man.
I made the dopest. My friend made me this dope, like 3D, almost steampunk face page where I was like popping out of a TV with a mic and stuff. It was so cool. And then paid him, and MySpace was done like a month later. It was tragic, but you know,
Ain't that the way?
You know,
you'll have to live with that final top 6. Like whoever your top 6 was is just there forever.
Right.
Look back, you know.
Funny enough, one of my besties, a girl from Canada liked me, saw him in my top 8, and they have been together for 15 years.
Wow. Oh, look at MySpace bringing people together.
Shout out Kim and Ethan. Yeah. They found love in a weird place.
Definitely.
They found love on MySpace.
The MySpace remix. It's very interesting. So when it got down to that final, you were just saying you were having great fun until that final, you know, final 2 moment when it was like, I can only imagine what that pressure was, because that's, I don't think people, especially younger generations, understand how prominent the Idol franchise was back then, and it was giving people careers. I mean, as opposed to you know,
it was
lately
30 million people a week watch that show, where it's like maybe 5 now. You know, I don't even know. Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was nuts. In that finale, the pressure was the worst. They basically told me I had second place before I even performed. They said I couldn't. They said I couldn't arrange my songs myself. And the song that I had to sing was written for Jordan Sparks. So I told them all to fuck off, and I wore a Vote for Jordan Sparks t-shirt, and they make me take it off. I was gonna go out, but I bit my tongue. I was gonna go out on that song and just like bow out, like say thank you, America, but please vote for Jordan Sparks. I graciously bow out. She can have it. And I bit my tongue and I didn't do it. One of the only regret I've had in my life.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting. So they never really had that conversation with you. Should you win, this is the plan XYZ? Did you get bypassed for that, or did you actually have that conversation?
No, the conversation was when Melinda got voted off at the top 3. It was Simon Fuller, Simon Cowell, Nigel Lithgow, and Ken, the main producers, the owner of American Idol. And they said, here's the song you guys have to sing. And Blake, you can't arrange it. It has to be like this because it's going to be the single if you win. I was like, I'm not recording the song. And it's written for Jordan Sparks, and I can't arrange it. I looked at them. I said, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I walked out, flicked them off. I left.
Wow.
And it was one of the worst weeks I've ever had in my life.
See,
Besides,
yeah, people don't understand that. Like, people see the TV, as you were saying. People see the TV and go, you must be living the dream, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, millions of people watching every week, and then they don't see the behind-the-scenes stuff.
you basically took the competition away and you gave it to someone. Like,
Yeah.
you got to let me go out on my accord. Like, I didn't want to win American Idol, first of all. I wanted Jordan to win. I knew she was going to win Hollywood Week. We like called it, like 6 of us in our seat at Hollywood Week. We're like, she's winning American Idol. We saw it the moment she stepped on stage. We knew. And I was like, great. I'm like, my whole dream for myself getting into that moment, getting to like Hollywood Week, I was like, if I can make the top 10, I can go on tour, make a little bit of money, and show people beatboxing live. You know what I mean? I didn't know how some of my arrangements were going to come off on television. I didn't know how, people were going to respond to me at all. So I was just like, top 10, please. Because then I can go on tour. That's all I was like hoping and praying for. And then I just kept making it and kept making it and kept making it. And I was like, oh shit, I might win this. Like, I told Dougie Fresh when I met him in the top 6, and I'm like, I think I'm going to be in the finale. I knew by the top 6, I was like, I'm going to be in the finale. And it wasn't like a cockiness or anything. It was just like the universe was pulling me there. And I was like, would you perform with me if we make it there, like, and show beatboxing to America, like, really? Because he's the Godfather. And it happened. So that was the only blessing that really came from the finale experience. But the entire, it's like, it's really tough when there's like one negative thing during the day, it ruins your whole day.
Mhm.
And that the finale kind of almost ruined the whole experience. So I kind of blocked the finale out of my, because I've been bitter about it. I'm over that. I've done my therapy. I've done my time. And it's like, that's how it was run. That's what they did. I wasn't in control. I knew that the whole time. Like, what do you think? You think you're in control? No, it's not your show. It's not the Blake Lewis show. It's American Idol. So it was, it's like every person that even wins that show is bittersweet about it. I mean, Kelly Clarkson was bittersweet about it for a minute, like every contestant, because it's weird because especially those like first 7 seasons where there was no social media, there's no way to access your fans. You didn't even know if you had fans. Like, I wouldn't know unless I like went out to like the Grove, because we shot at CBS, even though it was a Fox show. And like a girl fainted at a cheesecake factory because she met me. And I was like, what the just happened? Like,
That's how you knew.
Are you kidding? I was like, honey, get up. Like, what do you mean? Like, you go from the underground where you're like respected because of your craft, and then you go to pop and it's just like you're a character on a television and people love fame and love to meet famous people. Everyone loves to meet their heroes and the people that they admire. You know what I mean? So that was just, it was trippy. It was so weird. I mean, like I said, can of worms. Like, I really wish I made a daily diary. Because there's so much stuff I forget. My friend Ginger, who I was dating while I was on the show, reminded me that Robin Williams called me and we had this crazy conversation.
Wow.
And I had already talked to him before. So I know exactly that conversation, but I forgot that he called me out of the blue and I had him on speaker and she was there, and she totally jogged my whole memory, you know? And it's just crazy things like that, like random magical moments that, you know, like, how is this happening to me? I'm just this fucking weird kid from Seattle area, you know? Like,
I was going to ask Blake, was there anyone that you met that just went, but Robin Williams is, I don't think you can top that, really.
Robin has been my hero. We have the same birthday. Rest in peace, legend. His daughter was a fan of mine. I started beatboxing because I like Mork and Mindy, because he made weird noises. You know what I mean? So that was random. I was on a music video shoot for Idol for one of the Ford commercials. One of the producers, and I like off the show. During those things, I would talk to the director, and I would learn everything. I love production, any kind of production, film, you know, set design. I love the art. I love seeing something from nothing go to the end. But anyway, I was talking to this producer, and she asked me, I get it all the time, how'd you start beatboxing? I was like, or who are your influences? And I was like, Robin Williams and Michael Jackson. And people will be always like, that makes no sense to me. What? And I was like, I grew up with Mork and Mindy. I'm an 80s kid. Michael was very percussive and record all his own demos and looped, you know, and that's that. And she, like an hour and a half later, she hands me a phone, and Robin's like, hey, Blake, you bastard, what's going on? You know, or something. I feel like he said that. And I was just like, the rest of the day, I was just like out of body experience. You know what I mean? He was so sweet to me, and we talked for a while, and, you know, talked to him about like, oh, you know, his work. And I was like, thank you for entertaining me, you know, just respectfully, like, you know, I wouldn't be the same person without you in my life, you know, which is weird to tell someone because they're not in your life, but they are, you know. Why people look up to musicians and actors, and you know, the power of art is very meaningful. And then, you know, we did Idols Give Back, and that was we raised like $71 million for charity.
Wow.
And Bono, we did a U2 song, and he came and watched us, and he signed all my vinyl. Unforgettable Fire right down there, and it says Unforgettable Blake, which is cool.
That's cool.
And Quincy Jones, which signed my Thriller right there, and I talked to him for like an hour and a half straight. I showed him my videos. I had my laptop and videos. I'm like, this is what I really do. And he went to Garfield in Washington. I was like, hey, I just was with Michael Shreve, who was the drummer of Santana, and I taught his son how to beatbox. And he's like, oh, I love Michael. You know, he's a musician cat, so you can just talk to him like he's a regular. You know, he's regular. With Bono, I was like, hey man, hey, do you remember when you sang? Anyway,
it's easy to be starstruck. Easy to get starstruck around people that you respect mostly.
It's so funny. I didn't because I met Robin after that, and I wasn't maybe a little, but wasn't a lot. There's only a couple people I think that would do that. What's yours?
Oh God,
who would you be starstruck?
I met Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that happened to me. I was like, blah, blah. And I was supposed to interview him, and I forgot all of the questions. I'm so mad. To this day, I still kick myself about that.
Did he tell you to get to the chopper?
Get to the chopper!
No, nothing nearly.
Run!
Katrina, you're beautiful.
Run, cat! Run!
What are the questions you have for me?
I ended up
That's
asking him
amazing.
really bad ones like, what's funnier, bananas or cheese? And when I got these questions from Nickelodeon, I'm like, those are awful. I hate those. I'm not saying any of that. And then I froze, and then I ended up using those awful questions. Awful.
What was funnier, bananas or cheese?
Who can remember?
Bananas, you can slide. I don't
Remember,
know.
these answers are for children.
You can't cut the banana? I don't know. It's like, remember?
It's a flawed
Cut the
question.
cheese, it's funny. It's fart jokes.
Mhm.
Kids, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to your baby, Blake. Your first mainstream
Do I have a
baby, anyway.
Oh,
Audio Daydream. Now, I have a confession. I had that hairstyle. I took that picture and went, I want this. So
Yay!
I was like, yeah, I had the going on. I was like,
The
yes, boy,
faux hawk
this is the
generation.
look.
I helped spawn, and as soon
You
as I got
did.
off the show, I took it off.
Got rid of it. You're like, no more. I'm done with it.
It was
But
good
you
for
seem-
like 2 years. I had it for like 4.
you seem to have a huge amount of control over that album, considering you wrote the majority of it for an Idol alumni at that time to come out with that much self-penned work was really quite rare, right?
Yes, I don't know about control.
Yeah, well, control might be a different word. A different word, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yes. No, you're definitely right. I got 2 co-production credits on that album, which I had to fight for, even though I completely did that. Most of that album is with Ryan Tedder of One Republic, and they were working on their album at the same time. He was producing right when we were kind of wrapping my album. He started producing. I mean, he did Halo for Beyond. I guess that was like a couple months later. But man, I found a brother in him. He really gave me, just kind of a crash course in how he produces, how quick all the melodies in his head he gets out, which was awesome. And he respected me as a songwriter. And that was the main thing. I wanted to work with producers that actually care about what I'm putting out, because it's my music. It's not it's not theirs. With Ryan, it was like half his. A lot of the ideas, I would say maybe 6, 7 songs on that album stem from Ryan's production first. Some of his ideas, even if it was like Break Another was a completely done song, and then I just rewrote it. So there was like, you know what I mean? So that's not my melody, and I'm a melody maker. That's like what I love to do. So I also worked with Sam and Sluggo, and we did everything from scratch. And so I had the best time working with them. It was totally different. Ryan was like really quick process, lots of laughs, really great vocalist, and teaching me how to become a studio singer. I was never really a studio singer. I mean, I made my a cappella group album, and I did harmonies and stuff like that. But I had half songs done that I had produced. Like my production was nowhere where it needed to be. And I loved it. I loved the experience so much. It was super fun until it came down to the wire, because I was also on tour at the same time for American Idol. So I was only producing like 1 song a week, and it was on my day off. That whole entire year of 2007, I had 2 days off.
Wow.
It was insane. It was the most insane year. That's why I can't remember a lot of it, and I wish I had made a diary, like I was saying. But the studio stuff was great, because I recorded in Pittsburgh, I recorded in New York, I recorded in Seattle. I did Break Another, and I got my band on that track, and I wrote the bridge and helped produce it. And that was cool, because then I helped produce. I was in the studio for the last song on the One Republic album, because they finished it there. And then working with Sam and Sluggo. Sam's like the homie. Like, he has the most integrity out of anyone I've ever met in the music industry. If he loves something, he backs it 100%. He never backs away. I can call him any day. And we've written 7 songs. We wrote my number 1, Heartbreak on Vinyl, which was my second album.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
So these relationships was the main thing. The thing that sucked about the record label and Control was I wanted it to be half beatbox album, and I wanted Dougie Fresh and Rozelle and like Kenny Mohammed and maybe someone from Europe like Eclipse, and do all the interstitials and make it like a love for beatboxing plus the songs that I was writing. And they made me do that in one day with my band, and it's not hip hop at all. And it was just I was exhausted. Yeah. I was exhausted. My creative well had like run dry by that time, because I just got done with tour, and I had like 4 days to complete the album, because they needed it out before Christmas. You know what I mean? All the things. And it was kind of heartbreaking, but I was super proud of the album at the same time. You know what I mean? And then Clive Davis didn't test the album, which he was like notorious to do. And he kind of screwed me. He just threw the song out with like no promo, like the worst music video. I said no to, I didn't want to work with that guy. And then I got the music video back and I was like, I was just like heartbreaking. I was like, this is my moment to like say who I am. I had Lupe Fiasco on my album, a track called Know My Name, which should have been the single. And they didn't listen to me, obviously. And Clive, just kind of scared me. And then he basically got fired. They dropped me after I made them like $3 million. And that was my first album. And I didn't get to tour it until like a year later because my agents didn't care and management didn't care at that point. I was like, you can't find an opening slot on someone's tour. Like freaking Jordan Sparks is going out with Britney Spears and the Jonas Brothers, and I have no one. Like I can't partner up with anyone. Yeah. So that was my coming out party. It was super like so exciting to like, So
I mean? Is that why Heartbreak on Vinyl kind of feels like the bigger brother of that album of ADD? Like it feels like a more, I don't know, more mature version of that album of the initial album.
Yeah, I mean that's like 95% all me. There's only one song on that album I didn't write. I just loved it so much. Left My Baby for You, which I didn't write. I heard it and I was like, I want to sing that song. But yeah, like a lot of that, like Love or Torture on that album is the last song Ryan and I wrote. And that ended up on Heartbreak on Vinyl. There's just some gems in there. Heartbreak on Vinyl and Sad Song I wrote with Sam. And it means a lot to me. I mean, that one was more of like, here I am, like singing about something that I love in a style that I love. I wrote that song in like 40 minutes with Sam. I just walked past Tower Records in New York in Union Square, and it was the last day it was open. It was the last day. It was like closed. Everything must go. And it was like heartbroken. I would go there and get, imports, exports, all like the rare vinyl and cool stuff from Tower. And the studio was like right across the street. And we wrote that song. I was like, I know what I want to write about. I'm going to write about my favorite record store closing and how the music industry is changing, the shift. And there's a bunch of gems on that album that I love. Binary Love is like one of my favorite songs I wrote. It took me like a month to write. I would just listen to I love the beat so much that I would just listen to it every day in my car and just hum melodies and figure out how I was going to, get my way to the chorus. And yeah, I love that song. Those first two, the first two songs on the album are the jams.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you point out because your career has spanned that, physical media, first week sales, got to get the album sales, into like that death knell mid 2000s, like digital streaming, what's going to happen, kind of Napster download weirdness that we all went through with, DJ blah, 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 remix on when you're trying to do sneaky stuff on LimeWire because you can't afford stuff. It's like
you're like, whoa, and it's like much louder than the track.
Yeah, it's like blowing your ears out. Like, it's all good. I remember that.
DJ, Funky Mix 5000.
Yeah, exactly. Like and it's like just before the chorus, before you're like I'm ready to go, and it's like, no, it's okay, but it's okay. But there was a bit of a break between Heartbreak on Vinyl and Portrait of a Chameleon.
Yeah. What
happened in that time? Because those two albums are so different to each other.
So I got super depressed after I got dropped from RCA. The whole Clive Davis debacle, not getting to tour, the economy crashed. I bought a house over my means. Wasn't over my means at the time, but then 6-7 months later, I got dropped. Money wasn't coming in, no tour. and touring's where you make all the money. And so I was just yelling at my management. They weren't like communicating with me well. I did like a total kind of burn bridge move. I like put up this big post on my management or on my MySpace page and was like looking for management. And then they called me. They're like, what is this about? I was like, oh, you're deciding to call me now? Like, you promised me like a day-to-day every day for a year, and no one's helping me out. Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be managing me. You can't manage me. You're not managing me. And same with my agent, my like CAA. I was like, they put me down to like the lowest dude of the thing. You know, they don't have your best interests. They're like, don't you want to make money off of me? That's like your whole thing. Like, that's the whole business model of the music industry is like, we got to make money off this person. So why don't you help me? I have all these creative ideas, and I used to be like a go-getter. I would do everything myself. I still do everything myself. But back before Idol, I was just like, you know, just handle everything. And I was like, I didn't invest in myself because I got so depressed and didn't know what to do because I had all these yes people saying they were doing stuff that I didn't have control over anymore, or making me think I didn't have control over anymore. And I should have went to therapy there, should have, would have, could have, but I didn't. And I started having panic attacks. I was drinking like 2 bottles of red wine a night, smoking copious amounts of marijuana, and which was causing the panic attacks. So I stopped doing that. I moved to LA because I moved back to Washington and got this house because I didn't like LA. I didn't have any friends there. But as a terrible business decision, I could have stayed there, and it would have helped probably with managing, just getting people's face. You know, there was no Zoom then. You know what I mean? Right. Like there was Skype. No one was using it. But I need to be on hands and controlling of my career. It's literally my career. And if you're going to help me, you need to help me. And so that was like, I basically cleaned house. I fired everybody, my lawyer, and I owed my lawyers money. I owed the government money. I had to short sale my house. It was terrible. It was like, if a wall could come crashing down, this was like the biggest wall ever. And it was just like a lot of learning, I didn't know who to trust anymore. Fame really fucked me up. There was no one famous in Seattle, and I was the guy. I'm like, well, why'd I move back here? I got, it gave me social anxiety. I had to be like drink. I don't love alcohol. I like it. I like a good mezcal occasionally, but I didn't know back then. I was just drinking red wine all the time. Just going to my like local bar and hanging with friends close in proximity and not doing what I said I wanted to do, which was like be a part of the community, like maybe start something musical with kids or in the hospital, do all these things I wanted to do, but I didn't have the strength to do it. I was just so depressed. You know what I mean? And so that's why Portrait of a Chameleon took 5 years to come out. I had all these other tracks that were good. But I was like, it's not like now where you can just throw out a song. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like literally I could put in a song online while we're talking right now. It's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Back then it was like promoting. I didn't have a record label because I left Tommy Boy because they really didn't do a lot for me. And I was just so tired of like people having control. Like, why do you get to own the masters of this album? Like, I produced a lot of it. Yeah, you paid for some other production, but you own it for the rest of my life in perpetuity. Yeah. So I had a good manager, loved her to death. But after like 4 years, I was like, I can't pay you. You're not really doing anything for me. I don't have anything going on right now. I'm just going to produce this album. It was, and this was after it was done. Like she didn't come to the mixing sessions. Her other client takes like 6 months out of her life, and I was just like, you can only manage me like half the year. So like, what's the point? I love you. Like, I love this human. She's amazing. But that's how I viewed it. She didn't view it that way. But I'm like, well, c'est la vie. I'm out. And I put it out.
I've got to say that you definitely got this is your coolest album cover. So
Thank you.
Like-
Thank you.
that's amazing. Like everyone has their therapy album, like their therapy album that kind of, and it's like even with Start Again is like the mission statement for the album, right? That's why it's first. That's
Yeah.
what like the things you say in that song, you can like, oh, you've had a life between Idol and now, and it was great to kind of hear that reaffirmation of like, yo, I'm here.
Thank you.
Let's go again.
That's my favorite baby, if you want to put
Yeah?
it that way. Yeah, I mean, it's just more. That album's like 2 EPs. Honestly,
It's long.
like,
She's a big album.
Yeah, it should have been 2 EPs, but I was just like, you know what, F it. I'm just putting this out right now. Because half the album is like poppy, and then half is like moody, sexy electronica.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's because I worked with Matt Lang, who is this great electronic, atmospheric producer, and I had like 6 of the songs. You can tell which ones like I started, and then ones we just started from scratch, which is like the more moody stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was in that headspace. Your Touch was the first one. I got signed on to produce the music for a Microsoft ad. I sent them the first track, and they're like, "This is great, but this is not what we want." And I was like, "Well, I just wrote this song. If you guys want to license it," and it was Your Touch, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's perfect." And I was like, "Great," which then got me signed to yet another major label who didn't do anything. Because I was broke at the time. I needed the money. And had I kept it myself, I would have made triple the amount and I would have still owned it. But you live and learn. So that was but it paid for the album to be done, mixed, mastered. And that was like the main goal, honestly, was to do it myself. So I was like, I'm doing this 100% myself, with fans' help, executive production. Back then it was Pledge Music. Now I use Indiegogo, which I'm starting a new campaign for 2 EPs because I don't want to do on the vinyl edition. It'll be one full back and front, but I've started working on basically 2 albums, and I'm excited about it. But thank you. I'm so glad you like that album.
Yeah.
I mean, Retro Romance, I wrote that one while I was making Heartbreak on vinyl. That was the only older song that made Portrait of a Chameleon, which I wasn't even going to, but I loved it so much. I wrote that song by myself in minutes, and I was like, I was dating this girl. This is so funny. That's like, I'm an 80s girl. Yeah, I love the 80s. I'm an 80s. She'd always say it. I was just like, it's not something you need to say. You know what I mean? But so I wrote that song about an 80s girl, and I made the mistake of like giving her a copy on Valentine's Day, and this sent it into the wrong idea. It was hard to get out of that relationship, and I ran away.
Yeah, because she's your muse at that point.
I mean, she wasn't though, but she thought she was.
Thought she was, right?
Yeah, she definitely wasn't. No, and then I wrote the song "Runaway" from that too. So it was like, well, I got 2 songs out of it, you know what I mean? Because I was like,
she just keeps bringing the hits.
Well, the runaway part it's storytelling. It's talking about someone who's a runaway, but I was writing it in that perspective. But I was writing about myself.
Little confessional. That's all right.
Why do I always run away? I'm like, well, because it's not good. If it's not good, it's out.
She's scary. That's why.
She was sweet. She was very sweet. But I was still depressed at that point. And I was like, I can't be with anybody. Like, what's the point? So I'm like, am I using this person? Like, everyone uses each other in a relationship. That's what happens. You know what I mean? And people can take that as like a negative context or not, because it's not. It's like, it's the fact. Like, we use each other. We have vibes, we have connections, there's their chemistry, is there not chemistry, and so when you're dating someone, it took me a lot longer than it does now to figure out what I do and do not want in a relationship.
It's called growing up. Isn't that
I know,
nice?
right?
It's not so mature.
Yeah.
We love that. We love learning and living and learning. Because you took a little left, I guess not really a left turn, because your vocal has always been quite interesting. The way that you use your voice has been quite interesting. How did you come across Postmodern Jukebox and get involved with them?
Oh, crazy. So my dear friend Shoshana Bean, amazing Broadway singer, was having her album release party. And afterwards, I'm like, what are we doing? We celebrating? Let's go. And she's like, I got another gig to go to. And she was like, I was like, what? You have another gig after your album release? You're a crazy woman. But she's a badass. She's not crazy at all. And she's like, yeah, I'm sitting here with this group, Postmodern Jukebox. And I was like, oh, I love those guys, the YouTube guys. They're like new. They do the jazz thing. And I came in. And Scott Bradley was like, oh my God, I love you. Want to sit in? I sat in. And the next day he called me. He's like, hey, want to go on tour? And that's how Postmodern Jukebox happened. Now I've been around the world with them. And I just filmed another video with them a couple months ago.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was, I've always been a crooner. I grew up with Harry Connick Jr., the Rat Pack, you know, and
all the good
jazz.
stuff.
I love jazz vocal. I mean, I sang vocal jazz, you know, in my a cappella group at the end of high school. And, you know, I like singing, like, you know, it's just fun. So to me, it was like, oh, this is a cool little outlook, something new. I got invited to do it. The hang was rad. Like all the musicians, all the singers were great. It was a cool idea. I'm like, all right, well, this is just like another form of American. I'm singing covers, you know, and it's fun. Yeah. And that was it. It literally was just like, sure, let's go.
Blake, now you've said that you met a lot of people along the way on your Idol journey, but before we went to record, you did identify that you have met Miss Katrina here.
Yes.
Can we reveal this story?
Actually, it was
either of you remember?
I remember.
I remember.
I went to a party at your house, and another American Idol alum was there,
Yep.
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot. Yeah, I mean, for sure.
And it was wild. It was fun. There were lots of really pretty people there. You guys were like singing in the living room.
Yeah.
There was like a music section, and then in the backyard, the hot tub was going off.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was there wearing a white string.
Sounds like
just a string.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in my music video. That's how we met.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, Retro Romance. That was right after we got done shooting, or it came out. I don't remember. Maybe it was like it dropped. It dropped, and we had a little soiree, a little house party.
Yes, that was fun. And I had such a crush on Elliot.
Oh, snap. He would have liked you.
I didn't tell anyone, though.
You should have told me. That blondie over there, I think she got the eyes for you, see?
Everyone's wearing high trousers all of a sudden. What's going on?
Well,
I don't know.
Ask you our favorite question.
Ooh.
Because everyone who's at home right now needs to know boxers or briefs.
None.
There we go.
Oh, for the win!
No. It's actually boxer briefs.
There we go.
So
okay,
it's actually not none, both at the same time.
Yes, hybrid man.
It was commando for a decade, and they made me wear underwear on TV. I didn't wear underwear till about after my performance of what song was it?
Oh god, here we go.
Time of the Season, because there's this like shot that grazed the internet that was like,
because you
we
can't
can
hide
see his
the
package
shape.
on American telly.
So we'll all go back and watch that clip now. Thank you.
Also, here is our trailer promoting this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a slow motion. Wow. Blake Lewis. That's amazing.
Ooga.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
That's
Katrina,
the kind of
seeing he's
vibe.
not shy, then do we go with our other question that we
Oh my
always
God.
ask?
Go.
I don't sanction
Oh,
this
is
one.
it going to be
so
me?
I'm stepping
I
out of the
think
building.
it should be Katrina.
Yeah, it's your question, baby.
Okay.
Preface it for Blake so he knows what you're talking about.
Well, we do have a scale of measurement here on this show.
Whoa. What do you measure?
We like to measure a man's manhood in quarters. So, if we were to lay out some quarters, would you be $1, $1.50, $2?
How big?
Keep in mind, Perez Hilton answered this question like straight away. I was like,
Like, he
what?
had it on deck. Like there was
Yeah,
a
he was
rule
ready.
out.
I'm
He
like-
was like,
$2.
What? $2 make you holla.
there we go.
Maybe $1.75, $2. Somewhere. I don't know.
Depending on the temperature.
Thicker than a quarter. Hello.
Yeah.
that is a long-standing question from the show back in the radio days. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you
I'm
have it.
blushing.
I know, right?
You
I
really
always-
get
we
your
always have-
money's worth with Blake.
Yeah. We always have these serious conversations, and then Katrina's like, I'm like, oh no, we made it so far. But look, no one has reacted badly yet, so it's all good.
That's good.
Look, I could
Save
keep
it for
talking
the end.
about your music forever, but we're running out of time. So you've been a busy boy. You have new stuff happening now. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about the private language.
Oh,
stuff that
yes.
you've been
Okay.
working on.
So the private language is KJ Saka from Pendulum, an Aussie British band. And we've been making music or playing music for 20 years in Seattle. We had our own night in Fremont where we would just jam for like 4 hours, like hip hop, drum and bass, jazz. This place called Toast, which was like a really hip, cool little spot every Wednesday for like a year. And he was my roommate. We went on tour together. And when he finally moved to LA when I was there, and I was like, yo, okay, let's start working. Like we worked on Heartbreak on vinyl. He helped me with,
You've made a
we
few.
worked together. I was on his album. He was on my album, whether it was production or drumming. He's an amazing drummer. He's incredible. And so he finally moved to LA, and I was like, yeah. So we got together. It was going to be like a trio. My neighbor was this awesome bass player, and he had the name The Private Language. And we were in a jam, and he's like, never mind. You guys have the name. I'm moving. I just found out my girlfriend's pregnant. I'm going to get married, and I'm moving. So it was just like, well, okay. But the story about The Private Language is we had the name. We made like one beat, and then I started working on my album, Wanderlust Unknown. And I always want to learn how to play the bass because I was like, okay, he's gone. I bought a bass, and I'm gonna start playing it. I mean, I play guitar; it shouldn't be that hard because I love slap bass, I love funk, and I put myself in a box for Wanderlust Unknown, my last album, where I was like, no synths, no like samples. I want it to be organic. I had this amazing gypsy jazz guitar player. We just started making up song. I kind of wanted to make like almost a Tribe Called Quest album, but my style.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I do synth music all day, every day. So, I was trying to make like a beat a day. Like that's what I try to do. I call it working out. I just give myself an hour a day, see what I come up with. And so I was like, okay, I'm limiting myself here in this box. Over here, I'm going to do bass, like cool summery synths, and like try and keep the drum production the same. So I was using Kevin's samples of his drums. He has got like 10 different loop libraries out there. And so I was already using him, and I had like 6 songs done. And I was like, these are kind of cool. And he's like, why don't we just use these? So that basically my second album kind of became The Private Language, and that birthed that. And then we started writing with different people and coming up with our own stuff together in the studio, and we are almost done. We have 2 songs. I got to record vocals for 2 more songs, finish the production on that, and then our album will be done. But we have a new single coming out within, I don't know, like 6 weeks, I would say.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and it's called Vacation Hideaway. And all the what do I want to say? Not sonically, but musically, what inspired that the whole project lyrically was just escapism. Like, just COVID happened, and I just wrote all these lyrics, and was like, our last one's called In Paradise, and this one's called Vacation Hideaway. I have one called Cali Girls that I love. That
Hey.
But we're a new group. Like, no one's, it's like no one knows we're out there. So
Fresh.
we got to play some shows. We got to get the album done, play some shows. But we're on track like every 6 weeks to like release a new song, new music video, all that. And I'm currently working on my 2 EPs. One I can break the news right now.
Yes.
One
Exclusive.
bringing it back to Frisian. One is called Night Frisian, and that's more of the electronic kind of pop side of my writing, not the singer-songwriter honest piece, but just fun songs, just fun songs to drive to, hopefully play in a club, something like that. And then the other one, I have multiple names for. I haven't decided yet, but that one's more acoustic, more of like me, like little beatbox, like auxiliary, more percussive things, more organic acoustic guitar. I'm calling it like my Postal Service album. That band.
Yeah.
I loved that album when it came out 20 years ago because all the drums sounded like beatboxing. And I say it in that way just because the production sounds like beatboxing to me. And I have 2 songs done for that. I have like 4 to 7 almost done for the other one. So
Are we getting like as you've mentioned it before? I have a real like love for your like 80s tinge ballad moments that go on, but like one of my favorite songs of yours is Without You from A to D. Like, it's like throw myself down some stairs, emo child.
Oh, I love that. Amazing.
It's funny that you mentioned driving because I was literally driving with one of your albums playing the other night, going, "This is good night driving stuff." I'm like,
yes, I love that. That's
cruising,
my favorite thing.
Cruising.
I love that you say that. Thank you so much. Like, that's my favorite thing. Night driving. That's all I did. I used to have this like 1990 T-top Camaro where I would just like drive for hours, with this massive, like I had a 12-inch sub and like this amazing sound system. And because it was all glass, it was just surround sound basically.
Amazing.
And that was the best sound system I've ever had in a car. I wish I had it now. But I would drive at night all the time, especially like my raver days. I was like smoking cloves. Yeah, so cool. Just bumping like hardcore, like breakbeat and drum and bass coming from my car. People thought I was probably crazy. I don't know.
Crazy, genius, who knows? So obviously lots coming up for you in the next year, right? You're a busy boy, as we've said. You're a very busy boy. Busy
boy. Yeah, I actually just got a job as a presenter for Rachel's Challenge, which is it's the #1 anti-bullying and suicide charity in the nation.
Great.
And I just signed on with them, and I will be giving presentations to like junior highs and high schools all over the nation starting in August. So I'm very excited about that, to like give back.
That's
and finally
awesome.
found a charity I could be a part of. So I'm trying to wrap up as much music as possible before August, so I can go out and do that.
So where can people follow you for all of the updates and everything that's Blake related?
Yes. Anything Blake Lewis, at Blake Lewis, except for TikTok. I don't even remember what my TikTok might be. Blake Lewis official, but I'm just getting on the TikTok. The TikTok.
I'll find your TikTok for you, mate.
Just get on the TikTok, bro. Yeah, but Instagram I use, and Facebook. I use all of them every day, and I respond within like a week.
He does respond, people. He does
I
respond.
do. I love chatting with fans that if they're actual fans, I don't respond to the bullshit and negativity. So, but people want to reach out and say what's up and whatnot. And I shall be announcing this Indiegogo campaign very soon on those platforms. I'm gonna start going live on TikTok. I think like once a week, just to
yeah, boy,
do some music and jam and chat with people.
You're gonna be taking requests.
Yes, I will.
Okay. I'll be in there. I'll be in there. I'll be amongst it.
I'm gonna request all of your songs.
Your catalog.
Start from track 1.
I wish I could have. I learned them all, but that's the thing is like, especially back then when I didn't like write them or sat at the piano or guitar write them, and they were just like tracks. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I got to learn my own songs now and like figure out like my own arrangement. How it could be live, which is also fun. But it's also time consuming. So on chats, I'll have songs more likely prepared, or I'll just make it up.
Yeah. That's what you get when you're a creative fella, right? You can do it. You can do it whenever it's needed to be done.
I'll make a song about you. If you're in my chat.
Make it about Katrina and her lovely friend with the string.
I definitely will do that.
Summer memories, man. Summer memories. So there you go.
Summer strings.
Summer strings. We like it.
Booty. Blow in my mind.
Well, Blake Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And
so
as I
much.
said, I could keep talking for hours, but everyone has to have a life. So we will. I know. What is that? What is that about? Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on Uncensored Radio, and we will see you again real soon. Make sure you follow Blake for all the good stuff. Bye.
Bye, guys. Hello, Jeffrey. It's Blake. I mean, Jason Statham. How are you, mate?